Space Marine 2 Year 2 is upon us, and as such, we're getting tons of new content, and Focus and Saber have unveiled the next update, Update 11, and have gone into specifics on what we're going to be getting. And today, First Tour Guardsman is here to join me to talk about these things. FTG, what do you think about what we've seen about Update 11?
Oh, hey guys, I think that Update 11 looks pretty damn good. Having a Space Hulk operation is really cool for me. We're getting the Blood Angels Champion pack alongside the tactical, should be the jump pack for the Assault as well, which could be like a Primaris Sanguinary Guard, and obviously Blood Angels are my favorite chapter. I'm looking forward to that a lot. Now, we are going to be getting a new wave of heroic weapons as well. I do want to talk about at some point like why heroic weapons are a bit of a weird spot, but either way, more variants, more side grades for these weapons is very good, more build variety, and I believe the Thunder Hammer is confirmed to be among them, so I'm quite excited.
Oh yeah. But let's, I guess let's dive right into that new operation. So it is very likely going to be a Space Hulk from the teaser images that we've seen of it, and it's also likely going to be Tyranids as well. And they teased kind of like a little bat image on their post here, which I will have shown on the screen. And I believe there's only one thing that could mean. I believe that we're probably going to be fighting against a Harpy or against a Hive Crone for you guys who are familiar with the previous editions. But basically, it's this massive aerial unit that looks like a bat. It's got these big guns attached to it. This may not be a full-fledged boss fight, like against like the Vortex Beast or Hive Tyrant. This
I believe
could...
they said it was.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's going to be a full-fledged boss fight. As far as leaks go, I've heard from people that it's going to be a Tyranid Wing Prime, which is yeah, like a big ass boss
How
fight.
do we
I don't know
fight?
how to do that one.
How do we fight that? Like the power fantasy of like 3 Primaris against that, like that's hard to explain.
Drop 2 bridges on it.
Yeah,
yeah, drop 2 bridges.
Yeah, 2 bridges. Maybe. I mean, you're in space, right? So like, there's probably like a lot of possibilities here. Maybe we blow it up with a reactor or something from the Space Hulk, or you know, something happens. But yeah, it's definitely gonna have to be weakened in order for us to fight against it, or at least I think so. If we're not getting a Harpy and we are getting a Winged Prime. That's
we'll
nuts.
See. That's word on the grapevine. Don't quote me on that one. But Wing Prime is what I've been hearing a lot from people. They talk about a Norn Emissary as well at some point from the director. I'm not so sure about that one, but point is, it's going to be a big old boss fight, and it seems like they're moving more and more into these boss fights because, first of all, the Terminus boss fights in the game are pretty fun, but having like a back-to-back Carnifex or back-to-back Neurothrope or one Neurothrope and Carnifex, it doesn't feel as good for a lot of players.
No.
As like, you know, you get a Hellbrute into Mutalith, or you get like a Carnifex or a Neurothrope into the Hive Tyrant, which I think currently the 2 best boss fights in the game are the Mutalith and Hive Tyrant still, even though the Hive Tyrant's kind of fodder to parry.
Oh, I love the Trigon, dude. The Trigon is so fun. I love the entire exfiltration mission. I think is done so well. I think it's probably still my favorite mission, or still my favorite mission in the game for sure.
Really? You don't like it more? You like it more than Vortex? I think Vortex is the best currently. But
Vortex is cool. I like how cool it is, and I also like the Vortex Beast. I think it's really cool. But I think I still prefer the Trigon boss fight. I think it's definitely much more fair. And then I also like the mechanics associated with it. I like how Melt-A-Bombs are provided for you kind of in the middle of the fight to break things up. You have to close the holes, but then at the same time, you can continue to DPS the Trigon. They don't lock you out and give you like an invulnerability phase, so to speak. So I like the way that the Trigon boss is designed. And I like how the level introduces the mechanics to you like mid-level. It's very cool, very well done.
That's true. It doesn't introduce the mechanics at the beginning and then towards the end. That is yeah, that's a great point. I wonder if they're gonna do that with this one as well. As far as Space Hulk operations go, I think a lot of players like Space Hulk Deathwing a ton. So coming back to like a space mission on Space Hulk is huge for players. I feel like 40k fans, in a lot of cases, are very nostalgia-driven for these kinds of games, especially fans like Dawn of War, Blood Ravens, etc. Obviously, that's your avatar, so you would know. But I definitely think that a Space Hulk operation will be very different from anything we've had so far. I've been pretty tired. I didn't like the tired of these other missions we've had. I liked Exfiltration. I did enjoy Termination, but the ending of Termination was awful. If we had a proper boss fight for that one, I feel like it would have been the best Tyranid mission in the game.
Get us into a knight. Get us into a knight or a titan or something to fight against the Bio Titan.
Can you imagine
That'd be crazy.
A Titan in this game?
Dude. That's the next step, right? That's the next level.
That's Space Marine 3, yeah.
Oh, there you go. But I like the direction that Saber is going with operations like this, because a lot of people complain about, specifically in Darktide, the lack of map variety. You kind of see the same thing over and over and over again. When you're on a Hive City, or I guess in the case of Space Marine 2, you really only have 3 biomes. You have Demirium, which is just Chaos Planet. You have the Hive City, and then you have the forest or jungle biome. And so the fact that they're stepping out of those biomes and they're taking us into something completely new for this game specifically is a very, very good idea. And speaking of seeing new things, you already talked about the Blood Angels Champion Pack, but we're also getting the Salamanders Cosmetic Pack. And I think that this is extremely important, because I think the Salamander fans were done dirty with the Salamanders Champion being the sniper, and having access to more cosmetics for the heavy, for the tactical, bulwark, and the assault is gonna make a lot of them extremely happy.
Yeah, I feel like the all the champion packs are worth more in year 2 than they were in year 1. I made a video about this a few days ago, actually, just because some people are very upset about the tactical having the Blood Angel champion skin, but like it was either going to be tactical or assault, and this is the first champion pack we've ever had in Space Marine 2 that will have accessories for not only one class but like 2 classes here. The jump pack for the assault specifically tied to the champion pack as well. And a big issue with the Salamander skin, like you were saying, is that Phobos armor is just so limiting compared to the other Primaris armors. Like, you can't really fit that onto Gravis, you can't really fit it onto the Mark X Tacticus. It does kind of suck for that. So I'm happy to see that Tactical getting this means we'll probably see all these pieces show up on Bulwark, on Assault, and on Heavy potentially. So
yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind too, is that pretty much going forward, and I think Saber is tracking this, every champion pack is going to be designed with every class in mind. And so you don't need to think about each of the different champion packs being class specific, because for a lot of them you can equip the cosmetics on 4 classes, because they share the different armor types, right? Or at least 2 classes if the armor is meant for Vanguard or for the Sniper, and we're going to get much more value out of that when the Tech Marine comes out. I think that's when people are going to kind of see the vision here for a lot of these different champion packs, and things are really going to take off. But for
that is true.
Yeah,
I would say not to interject here, but I would say that as far as the champion packs in year 2 go, it does feel like year 1's content drop was like mostly stuff they had pre-planned for like when the game came out initially. It was already like partially done. Year 2 feels like something they thought about after the fact. It was something they were like, okay guys, this game got really popular.
The game's actually doing well. Oh man,
yeah, it's actually doing well.
We gotta make more content for this.
Yeah, the game didn't fall off like World War Z, so like we can actually make content for it. So they did. Sorry, all World War Z fans, we love that game. But the point is that year 2 was like definitely a huge step up from year 1, even just the anniversary update. Now, even Saber Interactive said that the anniversary update was like a huge thing for them. It's the biggest update they did to the game, and I definitely agree, because like patch 9.0 was a balanced patch. Siege mode, I think, was the biggest fumbled patch of year 1. Like, Siege mode is just totally neglected, needs a rework, and they're talking about that as well. But as far as year 2 is concerned, I think cosmetics are like the big focus here on top of new operations, because I think everybody, for the most part, agrees that like operations are just a more dynamic experience for all the players than the Siege mode is, and it's just like something they're focusing on a lot more because of that. It's also just less time consuming. Like, most players don't have time to play a 3-hour siege mode match to like get to like wave 30, or even like 2.5 hours to get to like wave 25. It's just not reasonable. It's also just very repetitive. So focusing on these operations, I think, is a good thing, but hopefully siege mode does get that rework as well.
Well, I think that while we're talking about this, siege mode just can't deliver that story component that a lot of players crave. And I've got a friend, you may know him, his name's Tanner Lindbergh. He's completely gameplay oriented. Like, he does not care about the story at all, but I think that his mindset and the way that he views video games is much more limited. Not many people have the same views as him. I think that when it comes to Warhammer 40k, a lot of people very much like that role play and story component of being a Space Marine, and having an operation release where the narrative is continued or a short story is introduced is up the alley of the common 40k enjoyer, or the normal 40k enjoyer. So that's why I think the operations are always going to be way better than siege mode, unless they add like narrative comments or small talk between the NPCs in siege mode that are unique to siege mode. I just don't see that happening, not anytime soon anyways. But speaking of things that we can get our hands on, heroic items. So there's a plan in place for there to be at least 2 heroic weapons per archetype, which is pretty ambitious. And that's going to take Saber quite a while to implement for every single weapon type. I can't even imagine where you go for just the bolter, because you already have the combi melta, but where you go from here. But we can speculate on some of the other weapons. And FTG, I want you to tell me what you think about some of these options I'm about to throw at you. So, Power Axe.
All right,
Frost Axe.
Power Axe.
What do you think?
That would be cool. That'd be a very cool idea. I think, on the note of the archetypes you were mentioning before, I believe that this is a good middle ground between adding like a brand new melee weapon or like a brand new ranged weapon every single patch, because a big problem in year 1 was that like there really weren't any new weapons. We had like a Neo-Volkite, an Inferno pistol, and then we got like on the anniversary update, which was like a year after the game came out, starting off year 2, we got Pyrokin, Pyroblaster, and Power Axe on top of these heroic weapons. So we really got more in the year 2's like drop, like launch basically, than we got the entirety of year 1 for weapons. And I feel like heroic weapons are a huge part of that. As far as the Frost Axe specifically goes, I would love to see that. I think that'd be a pretty interesting thing. As far as my worries for that would be, it's just like the perks on some of these heroic items are like absolutely god awful or bugged. Things like the Power Gladius currently, Power Gladius, if you're unaware, it actually hits the damage cap before you can before all 3 charges are off on Shadow Stab. So like you actually just lose out on damage, or like the buff of your damage.
So is the optimal stat count like 2 or something?
I think it's like 1 with Tactical Ambush or something like that, because like it has the same problem as the Block Knife that also hits the damage cap on like a single attack, which is quite unfortunate.
That is unfortunate, yeah. But option 2, weapon 2, Power Hammer, or Thunder Hammer rather, Demon Hammer.
Demon Hammer.
Demon Hammer. And the reason why I throw this out there is because a lot of the weapons that we're seeing being introduced with heroic weapons, for example, the Xenophase Blade, that's a Deathwatch specific thing, and you definitely see more Demon Hammers among the Inquisition and Deathwatch, so it's definitely more thematic to what a heroic weapon probably should be. I just don't see how this isn't just a direct upgrade to the Thunder Hammer. Like, I don't know what they would do gameplay-wise to make this different.
They did talk about the Thunderhammer archetype they're doing now. Like, I know they're going to add multiple, they said, but as for the ones coming up next, I believe it was leaked that it will have like a shock grenade AoE effect upon an aftershock that's fully charged. That could be kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest, though, like depending on the cooldown of that, it could be awful, but that is pretty good. Aftershock 2 is like the hardest thing this whole game to pull off.
Yeah.
As far as like for either improved or the standard one, so better be a pretty long duration. You know, we already have perks in the game like Defensive Advantage that have a 30-second cooldown for a 5-second shock knee on a parry, which is just not amazing. Needs a buff for sure. But I am curious to see what they do with like a Demon Hammer. A Demon Hammer would be cool. I mean, I'm always down for new stuff, but I'm a little worried about how they actually implement it, because it seems like they like locking these things to like balance windows was like the worst part of the current heroic weapons for melee.
I'm curious about that, because it seems like if they're going to do 2 different weapons per weapon archetype, then in the future when we get another power sword, I would hope that it's a block or fencing window. Like, I would hope that it's a different parry window than the Xenophase Blade, right? Because you don't want the weapons to feel too samey. You want them to have some variety.
Yeah, a blocker fencing version would be nice to have for some of them.
But next
I feel like the issue there is that players might like not like to use some of those archetypes. These players all, you know, they have their chosen fencing, balance, or block, and they want to have those as like an option for any weapon they purchase later.
Absolutely. The answer there would just be to make it so that you can select whatever parry window you want to select for any heroic weapon, basically. Right, so.
Hit me with the third one.
All right, third one. Power Fist. Boltstorm Gauntlet. That way, kind of like
that sounds cool.
Dude, kind of like the Combi Melta, where you have 2 weapons in one. You could do the exact same with the Power Fist, and this would also address a lot of Assault and Bulwark players' complaints of not having a primary weapon, because you basically always have a bolt gun. This would be awesome. I think it's actually more than a bolt gun. This is a Stormbolter. So on the Bolt Storm
Stormbolters are some of my favorite weapons in the game.
Yeah,
In 40K, I should say. And there is you can play as Stormbolters or with Stormbolters in the Astartes Overhaul. They are super cool. They are super fun to use. Having anything similar to that in the official Space Marine 2 server would be pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
I would love that. That sounds like the coolest one to me. I know people are asking for like Lightning Claws on the Power Fist. I believe like they already had a leaked version that was not that at all, but like Lightning Claws I feel are going to come in like year 3 if we ever actually get those. But the point is that as far as the Power Fist goes, getting a Stormbolter on that would be pretty cool. I feel like that would fit some of the issues, or fix some of the issues for the Assault class and Bulwark too, potentially, because they have Power Fist as well. Not that Bulwark really needs it, but my big issue right now is that Assault and Bulwark, they could use primaries in general, so having like some bonus things like that, maybe not Bulwark, but Assault could use a primary for like some of his weapons with the Power Axe. But either way, that sounds pretty cool to me.
absolutely. And then the next weapon, I think this would introduce more of a playstyle switch up rather than kind of like a direct upgrade, but an Infernus Heavy Bolter. I think this is a really good way to introduce a heroic weapon for Heavy Bolter. Maybe add something that is a bit more slow firing instead of fast firing like the current Heavy Bolter, and give a little bit of AoE or AoE damage over time effect.
We do have the burn effect in game right now.
Exactly. So you could lean on it. You could lean on it even more.
That would be pretty cool. Like a debuffing Inferno burn on your Heavy Bolter. That's a cool idea. I think I heard they were going to make like one of the elite archetypes is like a fencing Heavy Bolter.
Oh shit! That'd be dope.
Yeah, that would be.
That would actually be really dope. Having different parry windows accessible for the heavy. That's actually really smart.
That's huge.
That's
game
huge.
changing.
Yeah, that's really smart.
Yeah,
and then
one compared to the other ones they did.
Yeah, the last one that I have here would be a Mark 9 Needler sniper rifle, and this would be for the bolt sniper. And this is a bit more niche, but this is also another one of those Death Watch specific weapons. These are sniper rifles or bolt sniper rifles that are kind of tailor-made for Death Watch Space Marines, and they're not technically a bolt sniper because they shoot out a needle. And I think that this would be a really good way to kind of revamp the bolt sniper a little bit, maybe increase its effectiveness, add a damage over time effect to it, or maybe increase your headshot multiplier with each consecutive shot. I think that would be really good, and I think that that's what the bolt sniper currently needs, honestly. So
I would like to see more like debuffs applied to enemies from weapons. I think it's a fun effect in general, especially for like team-oriented gameplay. There are a few perks already in game, like active attrition, that will apply like a 15% increased damage to enemies. If you have like a bolt sniper like that, it's just like a debuffing needle at a guy. You definitely have some more entertaining things, especially versus these boss fights, because like we mentioned before with the operation on the Space Hulk, we will be getting more and more boss fights as time goes on. They're even adding an entirely new Terminus enemy, presumably on top of whatever mission bosses we get. So having more of these debuffing effects, more of these interesting team-oriented effects will be pretty good versus those bosses, because bosses are like, they're really where those come into play. And like you said before, you mentioned this game is similar to Destiny 2. Destiny 2 raids are pretty fun. Maybe one day we'll get something similar like that, and having weapons like this bolt sniper applying burn effects, damage over time, and stuff like that will really come into play in those. I think that can be pretty cool.
Absolutely, and speaking of Destiny 2, if you are a Destiny 2 refugee, come over to Space Marine 2. The water is warm. Space Marine 2 veterans and players, if you have friends who are stuck and addicted to Destiny 2, make sure you show them Space Marine 2. Show them that the grass is greener on the other side, because that game is pretty dead. So, but other than throwing shade at Destiny 2, we actually have more commentary on what is coming beyond Update 11, to include things like more Siege updates, which I think we kind of all already knew was going to come, but more customization as well. And we actually have Dimitri, the game director, making some comments about the customization that we are going to see. So over the course of the year, we're going to continue expanding customization options, not only with the new parts, but with new options as well. without spoiling the surprise, here are some hints about what we are going to implement, and they have listed something we should have done a long time ago, something we said we are going to do but nobody noticed, and something we said we are never going to do. And I have no clue what any of these 3 things could mean, because they really could mean anything. Do you have any opinion on this whatsoever, FTG?
Well, let's say way back when, on the first community update they ever did for Space Marine 2 eons ago, in the dark ages of like September or October of 2024, they talked about perk loadouts, and they said this is not a priority for us at all. And I was like, okay, well, that seems like the biggest priority possible. People have been making a bit of an uproar about that more recently, especially after Siege mode, where like some builds just do not function between Chaos and Tyranids. As far as what they've said they were never going to do, I would say that could be Chaos armor in the operations, or like Chaos armor.
Oh, dude, Chaos customization. Or just the skins, right? The skins that are already available in PvP, being able to use that in PvE would be so cool, and I think it would be good for the game in the long run, because it would give people an incentive to go try PvP. Go see if you can go unlock these skins in PvP if you're a fan of these Chaos armor sets, or if you're a completionist, and try something new, because for a lot of people, just the idea of PvP is a massive turnoff. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to do it. They will just stick to PvE. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's I would say Chaos Armor would be really cool. Games Workshop, I believe Saber Interactive previously said Games Workshop said no to having Chaos customization, of like proper like non-pre-heresy Chaos customization in the game. But you know, Saber, or excuse me, not Saber Interactive, Games Workshop changes their opinion on this stuff all the time. We did learn that through like what it was Dark at one point. Like they've gone back and forth on a few things in there and a few other games. So we'll see. Maybe they did talk to them again. They were like, hey, can we have this customization? It'd be great. We already have this pre-heresy stuff. And they're like, okay, fine. And like, well, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Chaos Operatives might be the thing.
My last guess for something we should have done a long time ago, that might be them opening up the actual in-game characters to being able to be the other class types. Like, for example, let's say the Tech Marine comes out, right? And you could have Decimus, Valius, or Decius Valius, and whoever they're introducing with the Tech Marine, all be Tech Marines. So they unassociate the character with the type of Marine that they are. I think that would actually be huge, being able to play as 3 Tech Marines in the same lobby, while having those characters continue to interact throughout the mission. I think that would work. I think that they totally could do that, and I think it would actually be a huge W in the community. What do you think? Do you think that's crazy, or
cool thing? I mean, 3 Tech Marines. Like, I assume like just lifting class restriction for that class just seems like the easiest way to fix like the upcoming nightmare scenario of like everybody wanting to play Tech Marine.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we'll probably talk about this again at some other point, but there was that one developer interview where like they talked about this briefly, and it was like they had no plan. So we'll see for sure. But that's not a bad idea.
But beyond Update 12, and speaking of the Tech Marine, obviously we're going to be getting the Tech Marine class later in the year, and I know that you recently made a video that covered a lot of the leaks for the Tech Marine. And guys, at this point, if you don't want any spoilers, go ahead and turn the video off now, because this is going to be the last thing that we talk about. Thank you for watching. I hope that you subscribe to myself and to First Tour Guardsman, but we are going to get into the nitty and gritty of the Tech Marine and what we know. So FTG, can you give a brief overview of what the entire class is all about?
So basically from the leaks, we have a class that's very equipment focused. It has a shoulder gun with 3 perks you can build into to change its function, from like a plasma gun to a sniper shot to like what I assume is a standard bolter shoulder gun. He also has a turret system where like his turrets will shoot enemies. They'll have their own ammunition. And so basically you're playing a minion build, which I assume is kind of like a hold the line build similar to the heavy, whereas heavy is the actual turret. You will be like a mobile support that uses equipment to boost your damage and cut through enemies, while your turrets pull off, enemy fire from you, and they can also get damaged and destroy themselves. So that's pretty interesting.
And you can actually plant turrets, right? Like turrets that are like immobile and shoot enemies.
Yeah, it sounds like that. It does definitely sound like that. That's an option for them. It's tied to your ammunition reserves or their perks to boost up their ammunition reserves. Obviously, we don't know everything yet. Some of it is up to speculation. But it does seem like it's more of a defensive type play style. But he also has a lot of perks that will boost up his range damage for execution. And he might have one of the strongest range perks in the game, if I remember correctly. That's going to boost him up a ton. We don't know the actual values yet, but we like the overall perk effects. But he has stuff like, on execute, you'll get like, X amount of damage to your melee attacks for like 10 seconds. And those perks can be pretty strong depending on how much damage the Omnisaya Axe does. Because I assume the Omnisaya Axe is going to play a lot into like his overall play style on top of this turret and shoulder guns. So we'll see.
You think the Tech Marine only has the one melee weapon, just the Omnisaya Axe? Because I think that's possible.
More.
You think
he'll have at least two.
Okay.
Every other class does, except for sniper and heavy, obviously. But the big issue here, I would be worried about the Tech Marines if he comes out underpowered, but I really don't think that's going to be an issue at all, mainly because his perk tree looks pretty well thought out compared to the launch perk trees for every other class. I didn't see a ton of perks in there I thought were like outright terrible, but the fact that they are really moving into having his gear perk tree or his core perk tree really changed up the function of his shoulder guns, like a huge class component of him, which I assume is like his starting perk in general. Like his class ability is likely to be the if I remember correctly, it's going to be the turrets, and then his shoulder gun is like the starting perk. So basically, you can build into that starting perk more with your gear perk tree, which is pretty interesting to actually give it like a full different functionality to your shoulder gun. Because like plasma shots, depending on how much damage they do, the shoulder gun could suck, but I assume it's going to be pretty powerful. We'll see. Obviously it's all up to speculation at this point, but we only know a little bit.
Yeah. I do think that, I appreciate that they're leaning into that minion-based playstyle, having basically the shoulder gun be kind of like a minion that kind of stays on you, and then having turrets that are immobile, but that will fire against enemies who are coming in maybe wave by wave. I think is really smart, and it's a playstyle that a lot of players enjoy. The Arbides release happened in Darktide, and I think that it was really successful because a lot of people like pet or minion classes in games. Don't know if you agree with me there, but I think it's really
minions
good.
are super popular. Like just look at the Necromancer in Diablo and things like that. The people just love to play around with like their little dudes. And having a turret system, like Engineer and TF2 is like my favorite class. So
I didn't even think about that.
Being able to like sit there and like be defensive with your turrets and like play into that play style is really fun for a lot of people. Camping one position and holding back against a wave is like the fundamental bit of a horde shooter, in my opinion. At least a lot of horde shooters, especially like ones of old that people really love. So I think it's a good idea to have a minion build. I think minion builds are quite unique to Space Marine 2 in its current gameplay style. We'll see how that's implemented. Hopefully they don't have too little HP. I imagine it will come out a little rocky in some areas, but minion build I think overall is a good idea.
Yeah, and I know that you 12 Iron Hands fans are going to be eating good because the Champion Pack is likely going to be for the Space Marine, for the Tech Marine rather. So that is going to be awesome for you 12 people. But we'll also be able to use those cosmetics on the other classes, most likely, which is awesome. So, but all right, guys.
That's a big benefit of these year too.
Yeah. Alright guys, I think that is everything. Those are the major content beats that are going to be coming up within the next few months that we have the most information on. There are other things, such as a Battle Barge expansion and new stratagems, but we have no idea or concept of what those can possibly mean or be. FTG, you got anything to add before we wrap it up?
I think year 2 looks amazing as far as like content drops go. Obviously, we need to wait for the community update coming out this October, and then the PTS server will come out, and I assume in November, or towards the end of November, we'll get like a better idea of what's coming in later months, because usually do like a little bit of a preview of what's coming up in like the major updates and just talk about that in the community updates like for months and months in advance. So we'll see what they put out this month. But as far as everything we've talked about, I mean, I'm looking forward to everything in this game. I think Space Marine 2 is the best spot it's ever been in, and year 2 looks great.
It's just getting better and better, honestly. Like, it's snowballing, in my opinion. But, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Go over to FTG's channel and subscribe to him if you aren't already. Subscribe to me as well. I hope you have a great day. The Emperor protects.
text.